you can get lost down the whole cover thing.
Yeah.
The title, I think the most important thing is to have something that represents the core, and having something snappy, like Mark, is it Mark Manson, the F book?
I think
All
that
they
is
have
his name.
titles, and after he did that, it was like, oh, everybody has F in their book. It's like a 4-letter word, and it kind of lost its sizzle and sass. But it's really, what energy, like, it's not about the title, it's about the energy of the words in the title. Like, is that conveying what you want people to feel?
We are back here on Writing with Authors, and I have to start. Damion, why the heck do you write all these books?
You know what? It helps me when I'm really confused, because when you write a book, you realize how jumbled your thinking is. We all think everything we think is really, like, oh yeah, it makes sense. And then when you actually, it's kind of like when you write something down, you write an email and you're like, whoa, what language was that? Like, people that had no idea what you were saying, or you communicate and you say, what did I just say? And they say, and they say something opposite. When I write a book, it's to clarify how I'm thinking. And then I realize, wow, I'm actually really messed up. I don't understand this. When you have to communicate something in a book form, it forces you to clarify your thinking and to get really clear. And then it also creates a framework to not make the same dumb mistakes. I tend to write about my mistakes, and you're like, okay, I can't make the same mistake because everybody knows that I wrote the rules on that other thing. So it helps me to do better going forward, because there's massive accountability with a book that you've written on your own dumbness.
Well, I absolutely love how we're starting this episode on Writing with Authors. Welcome back to my passion project. It's a YouTube series that I built after having that shiny object syndrome with Instagram, getting followers, but never doing much with anybody there. Here on YouTube, we get to actually connect. And Damion, he's a successful entrepreneur. You'll see his episode be coming on that entrepreneur show. But he's got a few books. They're behind him, so you get a peek on the cover. But if it's your first show with us, I do have to welcome you. This is Writing with Authors, where I have the privilege of sitting down with accomplished authors all around the world to talk about their writing journey and, of course, inspire you to get one of your own. We'll add a new book or two to your queue today. And the show is brought to you by Coming Alive Podcast Production and the EmpathySet.com. Damion, let's talk about book one. As a kid, as young boy Damion, did you ever think you were going to have a book where you're going to be a published author?
No, for some dumb reason, I thought I was going to be a rock and roll star. And my mom said, yeah, you'd be great. And then I look back and I'm like, did she even hear me sing? God, that's disgusting. It's terrible. Like, it's just moms. They think, oh, everything is like, they're definitely, they have rose-colored glasses on. And I never thought, in fact, I really didn't care. I didn't like reading that much when I was a kid growing up. And in fact, I would try to figure out how to hack my way into getting good grades by memorizing things. But I really didn't want to read this stuff. I'm surprised I even passed through all the English classes, given what you're supposed to do. I did read some things, but most things were pretty boring. And it was when I started really engaging in cool ideas, things that interested me. And then ultimately, it was sort of part of writing for a lot of people nowadays is creating an authority. Like, hey, I actually know about this. I've written a book. And so it bubbled up. It wasn't something I said in college, I'm going to study English lit or Russian, freaking 19th century literature or something, because that makes no sense to me. But what did make sense was, I do want to write a book. I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be awesome because I'm going to tell everybody how I lost $1 million. And I got a lot of haters, and it was actually really funny to go through that process. So I didn't think about it as a kid as much. It came up, and now I can't help it because I have all these notes and thinkings and thoughts that I want to be able to share, and not just share with other people. Books do.
Oh my gosh, I'm right there with you. I have so many ideas I could write all day if there was nothing else to do and put it out to the world. But I'm so glad that you did, because the two books extremely successful, and people are going to hate on your work, and that means you're doing something right. I've learned that a long time ago, where if people don't support another creative's work, that's just on them. So I'm telling you, from someone who does see the work and the hard work you put in behind the scenes, your books are awesome. Thank you for putting them out. Who is the target reader for book number one?
The original book that I wrote, it was how I lost this first $1 million in real estate. If you ever want to make a book, go look at my book on Amazon and then do something way better in terms of the cover was built on PowerPoint. It's the world's most disgusting, terrible cover. So that book is for somebody that wants to learn how to make a more beautiful book. And quite honestly, a lot of people that are doing real estate are making a lot of mistakes that everybody makes. And if you knew the mistakes in advance, you'd stop making them. But the seminal work, I think that's probably incredibly valuable to anybody, whether you're going to be an author and make money doing that, or you have other businesses, is the Unicornomics book that I wrote like 6, 7 years ago. And it's a mini book. So I'm actually holding it. It's like 6 inches high and 4 inches wide. And this was something that all these businesses I'd started, it's the foundational 15%. What that means is there's a fundamental foundational construct of ideas, things that you have to do in a business. And if you do those, you have an 85% likelihood of success. And what have we all heard? 9 out of 10 businesses fail in 5 years, and 9 out of 10 of those fail the next 5 years. So people go, man, I got a 1 in 100 chance of actually winning.
Right.
This sucks. And the reality is the losers, typically the ones that actually fail, don't have these foundational principles. And having created a $1 billion company now, this is how I did it. And all these companies that were millions or tens of millions, they were successful when they had the foundations. None of them ever succeeded without the foundation. So this one works for anybody because it gives you very quickly the foundational pieces. And then if your idea sucks, the market hates it, you're going to still fail, but you're not going to have to take 99 swings at the bat just to connect one ball. It's probably going to be two or three. And that's the big difference between not having these principles and having them.
I absolutely love it. Hold it up one more time so everyone can take a look. That way they can hop on Amazon and go ahead and grab that. Unicornomics. Unbelievable. Thank you for putting that expertise out into the world. And everyone out there, don't be shy. I had that itty bitty committee before my first book in my head. Who would read this? Why would you write it? Blah, blah, blah. But you do have your story to share, and it can help countless people. Similar to my motivations with these shows, it doesn't matter if you get 1 million listeners or you get one. It could be one person who really resonates, could become a client, could become a friend, could become anything in between. But I do want to circle back to the beginning. You never thought you'd become a writer. For inspiration for anyone else out there that sees this episode who thinks they have a book in them, but they don't think they're going to write a book, what's some advice that you wish you knew when you started writing?
I mean, everybody has a book. We all have stories. We all have life experiences. Every one of them, 8 billion people have a different story. And there's value to somebody. One of the things that I noticed when I wrote Reinvented Life in 2012, I wrote it and I thought my journey when I had lost $25 million in 2008 and I was homeless and went through that whole thing, I was very alone. And writing that book, it goes out into the world. And a handful of people popped up and said, man, I thought I was alone. You actually did this too. And I was like, wow, I guess we're not alone. Sharing your story, you create connection with people because we share some commonality in these themes, and especially the struggles, and books that share reality. Like, here's what I really went through, these dark times and these painful things. Oftentimes it's an opening, an invitation for people to say, you know what, I get you, I am you. And I think that that's one of the most valuable things. Now, technical books, different thing. I think the stories that we share and the teachings that we provide with our stories are incredibly valuable because so many people feel isolated now more than ever. I don't care how much social media is out there. That's not real connection. It's just a lot of noise.
Yeah.
What's real connection is really connecting with people at a heart level. And books tend to do that when you're really open and vulnerable and you give the best to yourself. And I think that that's the opportunity for everybody. Pour yourself into the book, get it all out, and then let it free.
I love it. Social media may be the opposite effect. Honestly, I'm one of those odd ones for my age. I have my timers. I'm very strict on myself with them. I don't care to scroll. I don't want to get down the rabbit holes. I find my news in other sources, but being very selective on tuning out the noise and disciplined and holding yourself accountable is a game changer because we only have so many hours in a day. Other than the social media timers, another hack for me became time blocking, where before bed each day, I time blocked my next 12 hours, and it's changed my life. So I love everything you've shared here. Is there another book in the works? I mean, we know there's the aspirations, but are you ready typing?
Yeah, there's the way that I work it is I have a really hard time sitting there and staring at a screen and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. So I tend to go live life, and then I have lots of notes all over the place on my phone. Little
Oh my
notes, and
gosh, me
suddenly
too.
end up being a big pile of notes. And I go, how do these work together? And then it becomes a puzzle. And then I go, oh, there's a theme here, and that all goes in this theme. So getting the stuff out. I remember I was at a thing with Ryan Holiday, the prolific author, really really brilliant guy, and he was talking about his process where he would sit down and I remember Brian Tracy saying he'd sit down and write a book in a week, and I was like, whoa, you're an alien. Like
Yeah.
and maybe that's for some people. I've found that getting things down when they start flowing out of me and just capturing that moment, and you can do that with a note or an audio or something, but doing that and then having a place where you can go grab all that stuff and then putting it together, that there's literally always another book because we haven't stopped living. We're
Yeah.
always screwing things up. We're always having experiences. And so, yeah, inevitably there will be another book. It'll probably be a follow on with Unicornomics. After having created a unicorn, it's a different deal than the theory of a unicorn and some other, I don't know what you call them, like mini corns, like these little $10 million companies. And like, oh, here's what a $1 billion company looks like. It's like, man, it's a little different, but it still required those principles. So now there's the story around that. And man, there's some different lessons when you're actually creating that thing.
Well, be sure to reach back out to me, reconnect, say hello, and we'll get you back on the show for the next book. But I loved how you highlighted it there. Of course, there's another one because we're not done yet. It's perpetual. This growth, this success, it's all perpetual. You got to keep unlocking doors. Absolutely incredible episode, Damion. I'm really excited to have your next book come out. These books continue to thrive. Everyone out there, before we let him go, before we get his contact info, we got right to the point today. I want to give you the choice. Can we talk about book cover selection or book title selection? Which was more, I wouldn't say challenging, just unpredictable, not what you expected?
Man, they're both problematic. I'm a terrible artist, as
Yeah.
is evidenced. So I think you can end up getting you can get lost down the whole cover thing. The
Yeah.
title, I think the most important thing is to have something that represents the core, and having something snappy like Mark Manson, the F book. All
That
they
is
have
his
is long
name.
titles, and after he did that, it was like, oh, everybody has F in their book. It's like a 4-letter word, and it kind of lost its sizzle and sass. But it's really what energy, like it's not about the title, it's about the energy of the words in the title. Like, is that conveying what you want people to feel? And if it does, then you've nailed it. If it doesn't, then keep looking.
Keep looking and don't give up. Keep trying to find it. I think that we're going to just keep aligning ourselves with what we put out there. And if you don't be authentic to you, like you very admirably inspired me throughout this with the creation of both these books, is authentically you, keep chasing it.
Yeah, and be open to whatever it is. And oftentimes I think people's egos insist on a certain thing, and it's the opposite of reality. And if you can be open about the truth, and usually that's asking people and saying, okay, tell me the truth. Like I remember with my book cover the first time with Maverick Mistakes. No, sorry, not Maverick. It was Reinvented Life. It looked like a Stephen King novel. And the first time a friend of mine said, oh yeah, it's great. And then he came back a few months later and he said, you really want me to tell you? And I was like, yeah, why didn't you tell me the first time? And he said, it looks like hell. And it looks like Stephen King is inside writing this thing. And I said, man, that's not the intention here. And he said, yeah, you probably want to change it. I was like, man, geez. So it's getting honest feedback, because we get all in love with our thing, and it's our baby, and we don't want to kill our baby. That's not natural. So having people say, all right, and you got to be careful, because you get the wrong people and they're just going to crap all over your parade. So it's really getting people that can give you honest feedback and love you and will tell you the truth, and not just say everything's terrible, but give you some feedback that helps you create something beautiful.
Yeah. Be mindful of who you're getting the feedback from. People may mean well, hey, it's good, but that doesn't actually help you, because we need to improve and continue to grow. So Damion, you brought it all today. Thank you so much for bringing these great books to our forefront. Everyone, we got some books in the queue for you. One more time, where can we find these books and where can we find you?
You can find them on Amazon. If you go to the titles, they're generally on the internet. You can also just look up Damion Lupo, and you'll bump into the books, and probably bump into some other stuff, some really cool short mini book downloads. But the reality is you'll find whatever you need. I've put enough stuff out there. Just look at my name and maybe ask ChatGPT, hey, here's where I am, and what can Damion Lupo provide? And it'll probably help you figure out what that thing is that you need to get from me.
I absolutely love it, and continue to shine, put all the great content out there so we can find it. Remember, everyone, today's partner is empathyset.com. John Ford helps us with his Empathy Set and Empathy app in the App Store to help all of us entrepreneurs stay afloat. Incredible guy I love working with. My name is Vincent A. Lancey, and this is Writing with Authors, exclusively on YouTube. We gave you an early peek if you followed along today on LinkedIn or my Facebook pages. But with that, and until the next author comes along, thank you so much, Damion, for stopping by.
Thanks, Vince.